Sorry, let me introduce myself in case some of you didn't come yesterday, okay? So I'm Kendrick from Western Digital. I'm from Singapore, and in my night job, I'm also the chairman of Shippers Council. So I'll share a bit more about Shippers Council later. Let's more importantly, I just give you a quote, right? The best supply chains are not just fast and efficient, but more importantly, they are agile and adaptable. And who says that? Jeff Bezos, right? So Jeff at that time had this vision to make sure that things can give for free shipping was something really revolutionary. We didn't think of it. And today we'll have a panel just to discuss the most challenging part of it, which is urban logistics. Okay, so and this morning the panel leader is no stranger to all of us. He led the halal supply chain yesterday, even though he's not a Muslim. Okay, so today we welcome Dr. Marco Thiemann.
Thank you, sir, for that warm welcome. Great to see you back in so many numbers. Very good morning. Selamat pagi to everybody. We're going to kickstart day 2 on a very sexy subject, e-commerce. We will be talking about navigating the complexities of urban logistics and the last mile delivery. I'm a little bit overdressed, I've noticed, because my panelists are, I think, the way to do that, the modern logistics. So I'm a little bit old-fashioned, I guess. I would like to ask our esteemed panelists to come up. Clarence Leong, founder and CEO of Easy Parcel. Joe Koo, co-founder and CEO of iStore, iSend. And Patrick Wong, country manager of GoX Singapore. Please welcome to our panelists. Take a seat. So, welcome, one Singaporean and two Malaysians. I think a great pleasure to having you here and talk today about the interesting topic of urban logistics and last mile delivery. But maybe good if we can have a proper introduction of all of you. So maybe good to start with Clarence. You can take a microphone. Maybe you can give an introduction, who you are and what your company is doing. Thank you.
Hey, thanks. Good morning, everyone. Hi. Great to be here and see a lot of familiar faces. What Easy Parcel does behind the scene is actually very similar to like Agoda, Booking.com. We actually consolidate and work with all the logistic providers, mainly last mile courier service providers. So we have been working with more than 60 of them across the region: Malaysia, Singapore, Indonesia, and Thailand. Most of our customers' audience is the micro SMEs, micro sellers, people who sell on social channel with little volume, but there are a lot of them. So how we actually do is we actually connect directly with them for them to actually compare, choose the best courier service providers, and if we even do microfinancing, insurance coverage. It's basically adding values across all these last mile providers' process flow. At the same time, we also have more than 5,000 pickup and drop points across Malaysia. We work with all the convenience stores that you can name it. You can actually pick up and you can actually drop your parcel there. And yeah, basically we are now serving about 1.5 million user base across 4 countries. Yeah, passing the mic over.
Hey, thanks. Yeah, like Frank said, when we work in e-commerce, right, we have to dress a bit younger, right? So, yeah, my name is Joe. I am the co-founder and CEO of a company called iStore, iSend. iStore, iSend does what is in the name, store and send. We are one of the pioneer of fulfillment in Southeast Asia. We are one of the largest as well. The fulfillment is what our aspiration or initial idea was to kind of replicate Amazon fulfillment centers in Southeast Asia. We started this journey in 2015. And now we are here today. We're in Malaysia, we're in Singapore, we're in Indonesia, as well as in Thailand as soon as last year. Right? So we process close to about, I think, close to about 15 million items a year. We operate about 14 to 19 warehouses. It's growing, right? Our largest facility is in a small town in Banting, in Teluk Panglima Garang. If anyone is from there, shout out. So we operate at 200,000 square feet there. That's where one of the largest e-commerce general warehousing is. Inside this warehouse, 200,000 square feet, we house close to about 200 different clients of all sizes, from big names to small names. We have a very unique clientele of local aspiring brands, such as Abercrombie and Fish, Secret Lab, a lot of Muslimah fashion brands such as Siti Khadijah, and the likes. Our vision is to help aspiring brands navigate the complexity of warehousing in the modern retail world. So that's me. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Again, thanks for having me. Some of you have heard me speak yesterday, so I hope I'm not going to bore you today. Patrick from GoGoX. I'm from Singapore. GoGoX is an on-demand logistics platform. It's like the Uber for logistics. We are in 7 countries, so I just manage Singapore business. Why am I here? I'm just going to lend a bit of a Singapore context into some of the topics that we're talking today. And other than we're all 3 of us wearing T-shirts, we are also what the industry term as tech startups. So fortunately or unfortunately, we have the same godfather, the same investor company, Gobi Partners here in Malaysia. So that's a few of us are here. So we are technically relatives.
Thank you, Patrick. Thank you, all panelists, for the great introduction. Before COVID, already we've seen that e-commerce was in the lift, and during COVID, in the lockdown situation that most of us tried to forget already, it exploded, e-commerce. And what I would like to know, first of all, with Clarence, is what do you think? I mean, in that growth that was put in the face of everybody, and I think players like yourself had to upskill big time. So what are your biggest challenges for urban logistics? You see from easy parcel, and as well as the last mile delivery in Malaysia.
Thank you. Coming back to 2 years ago when the pandemic actually hit, right? I think many of us actually been through the same journey, as in we see parcel piling up crazily everywhere, right? Because no one is actually ready for that during the time. But I think everyone managed to turn it around within a very short period of time, and that's where the upscaling and on the team size, on a lot of local facilities has been done. So coming down to today's market, right? When the market is opening up, and it's down to e-commerce again, right? Spending behaviors has changed again. We ask ourselves, right, do we still buy that much online? The answer is yes and no. But highly, we have an option now, rather than everything have to go through online. So by doing so, we actually see the market has been normalizing. So this is actually what happened in the market, right? And coming down to most of our courier service providers as partners, everyone has already built the capacity. But now volume has been going back to normal. So what will that happen, right? So going down to urban again, right? There's also another challenges that we actually see when you actually do the deliveries to all these locations and areas. Is again how optimized is all this costing has been done. That's also part of the reason why when we started to build the pickup and drop-off points, working with retailers on the ground, that is also part of the plan, that how we can actually improve not just about the optimization on costing, but also the delivery speed on all these local areas.
Thank you, Clarence. Joe, what do you see are the 3 biggest challenges? What I understand in our earlier talk this morning, you also have been changing your operations model. Can you highlight a little bit on the changes your business model went through and is going through, also given the Malaysian market? Thank you.
Okay. I think one of the things that I see as a big gap, right, is the digital divide, right? logistics for a long time has been perceived as a very low tech. There's a stigma, lah, right? Low tech. You can't believe how hard I had to try to convince my parents to start a logistics startup back then, lah, right? It's insane. Like any traditional Chinese family, right? They send your kids to all this, good education, expensive education, and you come back and tell your parents and say, hey, you know what? I want to spend my rest of my life in logistics. They nearly disown me, lah, in that process. But thanks to COVID, there was a bit of sexy back to logistics, especially e-commerce logistics, and that's when I kind of got redeemed, lah. But I think that's the stigma, right? In when you talk about logistics, it's still very manual, very low tech, very low margin, no future. These are some of the stuff when people, especially parents, when they think about it. So this is actually something that I'm trying to working with as well as all the young startups, right? Trying to change. Actually, logistics is extremely interesting and it's extremely tech driven. And where technology comes in is when complex problems have come around. I think it's no stranger that the changes from stay at home, remote working, post COVID, everything's changing so fast. I think a lot of people might share the same experience as me, feeling a bit lost. Retailers don't know what to do, right? They are just reactive to the situation. And that's where the complexity comes in. That's where technology comes in to help. But then technology is very difficult to be implemented without good understanding. And I speak to a lot of retailers and ask them, hey, you know what? Why don't you embrace more technology? Most of the answer is they're afraid of technology because they're afraid that very common one, they spend a lot of money and get nothing in return or get very little in return. So that's where I think I'm trying to change that through this new business model that we've just launched last year. We've spent many years investing in technology. We were one of the first to embrace cloud technology in Malaysia. We are one of the first who built a completely transparent portal online that you can just immediately tell where the parcel is, not only just in the road but also where is it in the warehouse, right? Who's picking it up? It's completely transparent. And that's where we kind of struck us in COVID-19, where we couldn't even grow during COVID because even you had the money, you had the will, you had the business, there was lockdown. There was no way for you to build new warehouses or expand new warehouses, right? That's when we started to think, hey, how can we do this? And that's when we thought about actually the main difference between our warehouses and other people's warehouse is not much. The difference is the understanding of the business model, the technology, the way we serve our customers. So all these are actually not in the warehouse, it's outside. So why not we bring this into other people's warehouse? And that's when we started to kind of work into this new business model where we call warehousing as a service. We built a platform. We're democratizing our technology so that everyone can gain access to it, right? So of course, it's not perfect. We're still on this journey. I share with the panels as well this morning, right? Last year, only 10% of our business came from partners. This year is estimated to be about 40%. So it's actually quadrupling in growth this year. So I think this is very, very well. And coming back to the digital divide, we work with our partners through a sharing model, not an upfront technology model, right? So it's always, if you do well, we do well. So it's a commercial percentage. It's not like an upfront fee. So then you don't have to invest so much upfront, and we are invested in their success. The more they are successful, the more we are successful. So through this, we hope to reduce the friction to implement technology, right, in the industry. So that's where I think one of the things that we really want to kind of address, right? And that's where I think urban logistics comes into play. That's where all the complexity is, and that's where the urgency for technology is, right? So that's my thought.
Thanks, Joe. So Claire and Joe gave the perspectives on the Malaysia scenario. Patrick, you are operating in Singapore. How do you see the biggest challenges for urban logistics and last mile delivery in Singapore? How is it different from Malaysia?
Again, not knowing much about the whole Malaysian environment, so I'll share a bit of what Singapore is trying to achieve. So first of all, I think manpower, resources, land costs, these are all very expensive. So the government is trying to figure out or help businesses to figure out how can we sort of optimize the entire logistics flow. So one of the ideas was, actually there are two ideas, and this is actually led and spearheaded by the government agencies, tech agencies, the manpower agencies, and including working together with some of the large local logistics companies, the 3PLs. So first of all, if you think from a very simple concept, right? So take, for example, if you go to McDonald's or a Din Tai Fung Chinese restaurant, right? There is a supply of rice, there's a supply of vegetable, there's a supply of meat, or maybe the same supplier, the same distribution facility, right? In Singapore, there's a Pasir Panjang warehouse, a wholesale center, 300 different stalls selling vegetables, right? Selling fruit. So imagine Din Tai Fung has a supplier bringing bok choy, another supplier bringing strawberries, but they're coming from the same wholesaler. So if you think about it, why is there 10 different van trips delivering supplies, rice, oil, vegetable, fruit to Din Tai Fung? 10 different van trips coming from one same wholesaler going to one restaurant. So this 10 van trips or 10 footer trucks or the chillers are all queuing at the mall as early as 6:30, 7:30 in the morning, right? So first of all, you have emission, you have wastage of time, right? The trucks are all queuing for an hour or two just to unload. So then the idea is, okay, let's consolidate some of these orders, right? And you know, Singapore is very mall crazy. Every corner you turn, you come up from one mall, it's another mall. So take the East, for example, Tampines, right? There are like 3 malls just like side by side, right? So the government did a pilot to say, hey, let's have a sort of a consolidation warehouse just outside this East area. So all your suppliers will bring in, you will store there, and you will manage the order so that there's one truck or one van going to Din Tai Fung to deliver the 10 different supplies. Simple idea, simple concept, right? And hey, if you think about it, it works, right? But then there's a lot of technology processes in place to put in place, right? For example, how you scan the goods, who's responsible for the goods. And even a simple thing like you need to book the van time slot to enter the mall, right? Because you're not the only van, right? There are 20 other trucks trying to come in. So all that was a very meticulous process. It went through. A lot of brands didn't want to participate because, I mean, this was the common thing, right? The Din Tai Fung supplier was like, hey, you will see what my competitor is ordering, right? Or you may steal my supplier from me, or you may steal my client from me. So I don't want to share my information. I don't want my same things to be mixed with other competitor products. So those were all the obstacles. Then obviously, when you do things like this, although there are some cost savings, there's also costs involved, right? Systems. You got to pay third party. You got to pay this new consolidated warehouse. So there are all these additional costs. So the government said, okay, hey, let's do the pilot. We will subsidize. We'll pay for certain things. But guess what? Moving fast forward, it didn't work out because there was a lot of resistance from brands and the participants. Because if you think about it, H&M and Uniqlo, same thing, right? Deliver stock, but they have different times, they have different ways the goods are to come. There are different ways. One is RFID, one is paper DO, right? One is scan barcode, 1,001 ways. So they say, hey, no, I'm not going to do it. So that project sort of got shelved. Then the other project that the government has launched is to install what we call parcel locker network. So almost, I mean, in Singapore, 80% we live in public housing HDB, right? So literally almost like 400 to 500 meters, you have a parcel locker network. It's under the HDB block, it's near the MRT. So the idea again is all the Lazadas and Shoppees that you order, right? You don't want the guy to be climbing the stairs, going to all the house. So I'll just drop it at this network, you come and pick it up. Again, nice idea, right? Why? Because aging workforce. Right? The young fellas, I'm not going to do this 10 years from now. So, and e-commerce is booming. So let's do this. Again, investment in infrastructure. There's a semi-government agency managing the network. But guess what? Adoption and so is not there. Because to put my parcel in that little box, depending on size, is 50 cents to $1. What happens if you don't pick up? You're supposed to pick up Monday, but you only pick up Wednesday. So it's $1, $2, $3, right? So who's going to pay for that? And again, And then as a customer, I got to walk, right? 2-3 blocks to pick up my parcel. Today, that handphone I was talking about, that $5 handphone you bought, is delivered to your door. Handphone cover, sorry. Yeah. Right? It's delivered to the doorstep. So again, good ideas. How practical and how can it be adopted? So that's an example from.
Yeah, but those are some lessons. So the government wanted to stimulate consolidation to better serve the last mile delivery. So consolidation in transport was considered sensitive by the brand owners. Pickup points is not always practical. A bed doesn't fit in there, in that locker, when you're bringing a bed. So where do you see, Patrick, where do you see then where collaboration could make sense? Right, you shared two stories which were difficult. I mean, both stories were not success stories, right, in consolidation. So where do you see that horizontal collaboration with your competing companies does work in Singapore?
I don't have the answer to that question, but I think I think it's whether you mentioned Dr. Ramon, that we need to work with our competition, right? In terms of how then you partner and develop solutions. I think the key thing for us is we are very blessed. We have clients that are prepared to work with us to come out and try new ideas to really optimize the whole delivery experience, right? In terms trying to generate cost savings, but at the same time trying to meet the whole entire customer experience, right? To make sure that customers are happy in delivering. So I don't have an answer to that.
But the government, in other words, will play a big role in order to move that, because without the government, you won't move there. Right?
You're right. They're facilitating, but I think it's the industry that needs to also shake hands and then make it work. Right?
Yeah. Well, Joe, how do you see that for Malaysia? So collaboration in the last mile.
Extremely pessimistic on the collaboration bit. so the way I see it, I don't think it's practical, right? To ask, like, say, J&T and Shopee Express to work together. I think or J&T and Lazada, Shopee Express and Lazada Express to work together. It's not going to happen, man. So it's just not going to happen. The only way I think this can happen, which is a discussion I had with Clarence as well as Patrick, as we were having our session, right? The informal session where all the interesting bits comes out, the private session. It's iron fist, where the government comes in and put in regulation and say, hey, no, which needs political will and political strength, which is also lacking in Malaysia at the moment, right? We know that the government is not a supermajority, right? And so if that's not going to happen, then there's the only alternative, which is completely consumer driven, right? Which is, it's not going to be immediate anyway. It's like when customers vote their vote with their service, like say, hey, I want this. And then if you don't provide me this, I'm just not going to use you, right? And say if today consumers say, hey, you know what, I'm not going to use Shopee Express or Lazada Express because you guys are not sustainable, right? The way you guys work, it's not good or whatnot. Then there is hope for change. Beyond that, I am slightly pessimistic.
Do you share that perspective, Clarence? Quickly, yes or no?
Yes and no.
All right, explain that in that case.
Okay. Maybe I'll tag along with what the example that Patrick shared earlier on malls, right? Looking at our own office building as well, it actually have the same challenges as well. Like if you sit there in the morning, right, you will see 10 different courier companies coming, delivering one parcel at the same time, right? So, and then it goes back to Joe's comment, as in consolidation, right? Everyone wanted a pie and a piece of it, and no one wanted to put a step back and see, hey, let's work together, because everyone wanted to be the taikor in the industry, right? So that's actually what Malaysian is, right? And we are actually trying. Some, not all. we are actually trying really hard, as in how can we actually consolidate volume behind the scene? Because if you look at Easy Parcel business model, right, we are actually a consolidator. We are aggregator as platform. So indirectly saying we can actually move volume and consolidate based on providers. Because if we are just wait and see people to shake hand, I think it will take, I'm not sure how long, right? So what if we can do it from the system perspective, from the digital perspective? How can we actually consolidate volume from the customer perspective? Then channel it to that particular provider at particular zone or region. Potentially it might work, but we don't know. A lot of try and error have to do.
I share a story. I like I mentioned, I have 300 clients in one warehouse, right? There are going to be overlap. People buying the same stuff from the same warehouse, and they're all selling on Lazada per se. Lazada doesn't even let us consolidate that. It's going to the same dude, right? He bought like maybe a pair of jeans and a handphone cover, right? Going to the same address, and we know it. Our system has the ability to consolidate it, but Lazada say no, every order must have a tracking number so that they know that this is sent out. So then now we are sending it with two tracking numbers and assume two different tracking numbers, different providers. And that's, to me, doesn't make sense a lot, right? It's more expensive for the customer. It's more unsustainable, right? And it's actually very easy for me to do it, but we are not able to do it. So then, it comes back to my point, right? Either the iron fist or consumer.
Thank you, Joe. Are there any questions from the crowd here? You've been listening to those three gentlemen. There's also a question on top here already. What can we do to collaborate better in supply chain and logistics? Any perspective? Of course, we have been addressing already some. So we heard government incentives are important.
I think to leverage on what they just mentioned about the, in Joe's example, right? Coming back to this question here. So in Joe's example, the jeans was from Lazada and the handphone cover was from Shopee, right? Or both Lazada, and makes it even worse. Yeah, okay. But if it's for example a Lazada order and a Shopee order, but going to the same customer, same house, but because of their system, because of their third party, it has to be fulfilled by different vendors, right? One Ninja Van, one JT Express. But in Singapore, we're beginning to see some players, some last mile subcontractors or whatever, and they are trying to be like Clarence, be an aggregator. So because I'm taking this zone, I'm taking the Shopee and the Lazada, and I have my own platform to merge these two orders into my own tracking number, and then so that I can deliver to that one house. So there are players starting to show this and doing this. And so when I complete that one customer order that goes to two e-commerce, the complete order, the API pings back to both systems, both Lazada and Shopee system, to say, hey, it's completed. So I think there is some traction in this space. And this is what I meant by a bit of that collaboration. But obviously, Lazada and Shopee wouldn't know that it's done by one player.
Thank you. Just have a look at the next question, because I think we have quite a number of questions. Why is Gogo X not in Malaysia? We had that already yesterday answered, right? We skipped that question. Next one. What is the next big thing in e-commerce logistics?
What is the next big thing in e-commerce logistics? To me, I think there's a misconception. Like, what is e-commerce logistics? Like, how is it different than normal logistics? Like, why is it e-commerce logistics? What's new in e-commerce is for sure I can answer. I think everyone knows that TikTok is big, but I think maybe few people understand how big the magnitude is. I think in the next maybe 1 or 2 or 3 years, TikTok might be the second biggest platform in terms of sales for e-commerce in Malaysia, right? So that's how big it is. That's one. But if you think about logistics, I think what's new is solving a new problem. The new problem is it's last time it used to be sending to stores, then sending to houses, and now come a post-pandemic, right? I can't give up my e-commerce presence because you know why, and then I obviously store sales is going up, and now how do I deal with this complexity? So I call it omni-channel logistics, right? Omni-channel fulfillment. I think that is something that I'm really passionate to work on to solve for my clients. My clients have a unique problem that, hey, I have 10 to 20 stores in Klang Valley, in Penang, and Johor. At the same time, 30% of my sales comes from online. I want to make sure that this is seamless, is integrated. I don't want to have two warehouses. I don't want to have complicated things. I want to be simplified. That's something that I'm working really hard for with my customer, right? We call it omni-channel logistics.
So both online, physical, you optimize it in full, the full supply chain. Let's just move to the next question, if you allow me, Clarence. With so many startups in commerce, how do one stay in the game, and what is the average break-even point? Clarence, can you give some perspective on that?
I think same question we always ask ourselves, right? Logistics is always very competitive, no matter you're a startup or non-startup. So what are the value we are actually creating for the consumer or for the customers, right? I think that plays very important role. And break-even point. Back in the days when a startup is being formed, we started about 2014. And that time, all the requirement is always growth, right? No matter break-even or not break-even, is none of the question on this. It's how far you can grow and how fast you can grow. Then money will keep flourishing. But today, it doesn't valid anymore, right? Everyone is looking at your P&L. Are you losing money? How much and how long your runway will be? And are you start making money and when, right? So everyone started to look into that, even including all our big boys like Shopee, Lazada, right? That's also one of the reasons why there's lesser and lesser subsidized from us as a customer, right? To buy to discounts, right? So I think it's all down to back in the business itself, looking at it rather than a startup or non-startup, how to really make money in every single transaction that you are doing. I think that plays really important role to back to basic as a business, rather than subsidizing mode and kill the market, and eventually we also died ourselves, right? So that's how our perspective as in non-startup or startup perspective on breaking even or making money or just keep losing and keep burning like crazy.
Thanks, Clarence. Next question if we have. What can e-commerce contribute to the nation? Well, Joe.
Me, okay.
The Malaysian here, right? The Malaysian, not Singapore, Malaysia.
Okay. Oh, this one is very, very, very close to my heart because I just came back from a kind of tour from the north and south, right? I went to Teluk Intan, I went to all the second, third tier cities. I think the impact of e-commerce, a lot of few people know in the urban cities, it's a huge impact in the second, third tier cities. Think about it. This is now the main source of entertainment for them, right? The phone, TikTok, whatnot. That's why it's blowing up, right? So in the second, third tier cities, your main source of entertainment is all this. And now you have a new alternative career path that you can succeed in a small town in, let's say, Teluk Intan, which is kind of my hometown as well, right? My father's hometown, right? I'm so surprised. I went there. There's actually a few warehouses that is completely dedicated to e-commerce that's operated by a single merchant because they're doing so much from Teluk Intan. Then I'm like, wow, this is what's happening, right? So e-commerce has really brought some opportunities in the second, third tier city. That's for sure. Opportunities in terms of getting access to entertainment and goods, right? They don't have big fancy malls such as Pavilion and all that, but they can still buy online and get it, right? Opportunity of work, right? Now they can also be in e-commerce and have a flourishing business operating out of a second, third tier city, which has cost advantages, right? So I think it's e-commerce has impacted it positively, right? In that sense, right? In the e-commerce for the nation.
Thank you, Joe. We run out of time. I think we have just 5 minutes left. Patrick, what are your expectations for the coming years for urban logistics and last mile? In Singapore, we always look towards Singapore. There's the future coming. Do we see drones, electric vehicles? What are your expectations for the coming 5 years?
So first of all, we are seeing and we are entertaining more MNC clients requesting for our plans, our own plans, and reporting in terms of sustainability. So that's, as I mentioned yesterday, we're scratching the surface on that. I'm still very clueless in that space. If you talk about drone deliveries, I think again lots of pilots and tests in Singapore. May not work, but I think one application that we saw tried out was drone deliveries in the maritime space. So in Singapore, you have a lot of ships parked outside the waters. So they were actually delivering medicine, right, to the ships using drones. And I think that's a very good application because it's lightweight, it's easy, and there's real use in that case. Other than that, I think from one of the earlier questions in terms of break even and sustainability as a business, I think I hope all of us here will be around next year or the next few years. We will be around, I think, based on all the hard work that everyone is doing. And I think just to end up that question again, why we're not in Malaysia, why GoGoX is not in Malaysia, again, plans are always there. It's a matter of activating it. In today's climate, if you have $1, where do you put it, right? So it's on the table.
Thanks, Patrick. Joe, what are your expectations in the coming 5 years? And why is the price so cheap? We got used to free e-commerce deliveries, you know.
No, I don't think it's going to be free. Yes, competition is stiff. I think my prediction is a bunch of the unsustainable companies will not exist anymore in the next 12 to 18 months. And they will be either merged or cease to exist. I think there need to be a lot more consolidation. Either you work together or you die together. I think that's for sure. That's what I think will happen I don't want to be the gloom guy, yeah, but actually it is better for the overall economy. We can't fight like this. There's no end game to this.
Thank you, Joe. Clarence, the last words for you. What are your expectations for the coming 5 years?
I think it's all coming from the customer and consumer perspective. What we really want at the end of the day, right? So as a consumer, we want faster shipping, especially we want free shipping and deliveries, right? So to make these two happen, it only can happen through consolidation. So that's what we foresee. So more M&A, more work together will happen, and because everything is driven by consumer. Right?
Thank you very much. Please give a loud applause to this gentleman. Thank you so much, Clarence, Joe, and Patrick. A great session. Please also talk to them during the next break. So I hope they will be here for some more time today. Thank you so much, and we catch up soon with them. Thank you.